A shocking report has surfaced out of one shithole country's racist-ridden parliament, where leaders voted in favor of making it legal to confiscate one thing, but only from white people. This will make your blood boil. The Parliament of South Africa has declared by a majority vote that the time for reconciliation is over and the time has come to amend their constitution so that only white farmers can be stripped of their lands without payment. Yes, you read that right. In a shocking development, South Africa's parliament has voted in favor of a motion that will begin the process of amending the country's constitution to allow for the confiscation of white-owned land without reparation or payment. Could this possibly be a good example of a shithole country? In my opinion, absolutely. The country's leadership is full of racists who hate whites or is heavily laden with passive leaders who are afraid to lose power and won't do the right thing. The controversial motion was introduced by Julius Malema, leader of the extremist Marxist opposition party the Economic Freedom Fighters. The motion gained overwhelming support and passed by 241 votes with only 83 members of parliament voting against it. There were only 4 political parties that did not support the motion, including the Democratic Alliance, Freedom Front Plus, COPE, and the African Christian Democratic Party. The current ruling African National Congress Party amended the motion, but still supported it under the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa reportedly ran his recent successful campaign on promises to overhaul policies which govern land expropriation, which is just a fancy way of saying that he supports kicking white farmers off of their land without payment. This is truly sickening news and should be condemned by the leaders of other countries who care about human rights. The problem is that the victims, in this case, are white and, therefore, ignored when it comes to their suffering. Because they are white farmers, their human rights don't matter to the United Nations and all of its liberal handwringers. In a shocking statement, Malema said, "The time for reconciliation is over. Now is the time for justice. We must ensure that we restore the dignity of our people without compensating the criminals who stole our land." According to Bloomberg, a 2017 government report showed that 72% of farmland in South Africa was owned by white farmers. The African National Congress's Deputy Chief Whip Dorries Eunice Dlakude said the party recognizes that the current policy instruments, including the willing buyer willing seller policy and other provisions of Section 25 of the Constitution, may be hindering effective land reform. In a brutal statement of support for Malema's motion, the government's Rural Affairs Minister Gugile Nkwinti said, "The ANC unequivocally supports the principle of land expropriation without compensation. There is no doubt about it, land shall be expropriated without compensation." One opponent of the motion was Nkwinti from the Democratic Alliance Party. In her statement about Malema's motion, she said there was a need to correct the wrongs of the past, but expropriation cannot be part of the solution. Malema also accused the ANC of supporting the heinous new motion in an attempt to find a scapegoat for its own failures to find a solution. Making this argument lets the ANC off the hook on the real impediments: corruption, bad policy and chronic underfunding. Expropriation without compensation would severely undermine the national economy, only hurting poor black people even further, she added. The majority of white South African farmers are represented by the Freedom Front Plus party. Peter Groenewald, the leader of that party, released a statement which said, "If you continue on this course, I can assure you there is going to be unforeseen consequences that are not in the interest of South Africa." In a blistering rebuke of Julius Malema's motion, co-party leader Mosiuoa Lakota said it is a danger that those who think equality in our lifetime equates that we must dominate whites, according to a report by NEWS 24. The end results of socialism and Marxism can clearly be seen in what is taking place in South Africa right now. When South Africa finally amends its constitution, there is likely to be a bloody conflict. It's incomprehensible that this is acceptable to the majority of the country's leaders. The parallel between how South Africa's government treats white farmers and how liberals in our own country treat conservatives is not just coincidental. The common denominator is socialism, but thank God, we still have a chance to keep it from overtaking our own